Everybody wants success until they realize what it actually demands. Everybody loves the sound of victory, but few are willing to live through the silence that produces it. See, desire will get you started. It'll make you dream. It'll light that fire. But discipline is what keeps that fire alive when the wind starts blowing. Desire is emotional. Discipline is spiritual. Desire fades when you're tired, but discipline shows up even when the body says no. That's the brutal truth that separates those who wish from those who win. When you wake up and you don't feel like moving, that's the moment that defines you. When your mind tells you it's not worth it. When the world tells you to take a break, discipline steps in and says, we move anyway. You see, desire is convenient, discipline is commitment. The champions you admire, the people who seem unstoppable, they're not superhuman, they're just consistent in the moments when others quit. They've trained their minds to obey purpose, not emotion. They understand that greatness. It doesn't ask if you feel good, it asks if you're willing. Discipline is lonely. It's the 4 a.m. alarms, the late nights, the quiet sacrifices no one celebrates. It's saying no when everyone else says yes. It's choosing progress over pleasure, growth over comfort, purpose over popularity. And the hardest part is no one claps for you while you're doing it. No one sees the hours behind the scenes. But that's the secret. The quiet work is what makes the loud success. Desire screams for attention. Discipline builds in silence. Most people wait for motivation to strike. They think they need to feel inspired before they move, but champions know better. They don't wait for the mood, they move in spite of it. They understand that motivation is a visitor, but discipline is a resident. It stays when the thrill is gone. It keeps showing up when the results are slow. It tells you, we keep going until we're done. That's what separates a dreamer from a doer. Consistency in the face of exhaustion. Discipline is not about perfection. It's about persistence. You'll fail. You'll stumble. You'll lose focus sometimes. But discipline pulls you back. It whispers, we've come too far to stop now. It reminds you of the promise you made to yourself when no one else was listening. That's why it's sacred, because it's built in the dark. It's not driven by applause, it's driven by purpose. The truth is, desire will lie to you. It will tell you that you can rest today and make up for it tomorrow. It will convince you that comfort is harmless. But every time you choose comfort, you trade a piece of your potential for temporary relief. Discipline, on the other hand, never lies. It doesn't care how you feel, it cares what you do. It holds you accountable when no one else will. It teaches you that small steps taken consistently will always beat big dreams done occasionally. You want to be a champion? Then understand this. You will not always feel inspired, but you must always remain disciplined. Champions don't operate on emotion. They operate on principle. They don't chase the feeling, they chase the standard. They've built habits that don't ask for permission from feelings. They wake up, they work, they repeat. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. They've learned that success is not an act, it's a rhythm. It's the rhythm of showing up every single day, whether the sun shines or not. Discipline demands sacrifice. It asks you to give up comfort, to delay gratification, to walk away from distractions. It asks for structure, routine, and self-control. The things that don't feel glamorous but create greatness. And when you learn to love that structure, when you learn to love the process more than the praise, that's when you rise. Because the truth is, champions are not addicted to success. They're addicted to growth. They understand that the work itself is the reward. Discipline is the art of becoming who you said you'd be. It's the daily decision to honor your word, even when the world doesn't. It's a quiet conversation between you and your purpose that says, no matter how I feel, I'm not backing down. It's not a gift, it's a muscle, one that grows stronger every time you use it. And the beauty of it is, once you master discipline, you become unstoppable, not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. Every champion was once a person who refused to give in to the weakness of their own emotions. They felt tired too. They doubted themselves too. But they got up anyway. They practiced when they were exhausted. They kept going when no one believed, because they understood something most people never will. Desire starts the race, but discipline finishes it. Discipline doesn't need to feel good to do good. It doesn't need recognition to keep moving. It doesn't need a crowd. It just needs commitment. That's why when the lights come on and the world finally sees the victory, the champion stands calm, steady, unshaken. Because long before the applause, discipline already built the crown. There's a truth most people run from. Pain is not your enemy. Pain is your teacher. It's not there to destroy you, it's there to develop you. Every champion, every leader, every person who ever rose above their limits has walked through pain that most would have run from. The world tells you to avoid discomfort, to seek ease, to play it safe. But the ones who reach greatness know better. They understand that the very thing most people fear is the thing that forges strength. Pain shapes character, sharpens focus, and humbles pride. It's the refining fire that separates the committed from the comfortable. When you chase purpose, you're not choosing an easy road, you're choosing a meaningful one. That road will test you. It will strip away excuses, break your ego, and reveal who you truly are. Pain is the toll you pay for progress. It demands honesty, endurance, and faith. When everything around you feels uncertain. Champions are not born from comfort, they are born in the storm. They've learned to find clarity inside chaos. They've learned to walk through struggle with their head held high, because they understand that every ounce of pain is building the foundation for something greater. See, pain introduces you to yourself. It shows you what you're made of. When the applause fades, when the motivation dries up, when it feels like nobody sees your effort, that's when pain walks in and asks, how much do you want it? And if you can answer that question with action instead of words, that's when you start becoming unstoppable. Pain doesn't respond to complaints, it responds to perseverance. It rewards those who keep moving when it would be easier to quit. There's something sacred about struggle. It has a way of purifying your purpose. It removes what's unnecessary and leaves only what's real. When life hits you, when everything seems to fall apart, that's not the end. That's the breaking that leads to building. Every scar tells a story of survival. Every wound becomes wisdom. Every setback builds a strength that comfort never could. The people who rise to the top are not the ones who avoid pain. They're the ones who face it, learn from it, and use it as fuel. Pain has purpose because it forces growth. It pushes you beyond the limits you once accepted. It makes you resilient. It teaches you how to keep your faith steady when everything feels unstable. It teaches you discipline, humility, and patience. Champions learn to endure pain without bitterness because they understand its value. They know that diamonds are formed under pressure and gold is refined through fire. You cannot become extraordinary living an ordinary life. You cannot find strength if you avoid struggle. Every champion has had nights of doubt, days of defeat, moments of despair, but the difference is they didn't let pain define them. They let it refine them. When they failed, they didn't stay down. When they were criticized, they didn't crumble. When the dream seemed too far, they didn't give up. They used that pain as proof that they were still in the fight. Pain became the signal that they were growing. That's what makes champions different. They see pain not as punishment, but as preparation. There's beauty in the moments that hurt, even if you can't see it yet. Pain strips away comfort so you can meet your calling. It forces you to confront your weaknesses, to dig deeper, to strengthen what was once fragile. The truth is, the very thing that feels like it's breaking you is actually building you. Every tear, every loss, every heartbreak, it's chiseling away the parts of you that can't carry the weight of your destiny. Pain is sculpting your spirit for the level you prayed to reach. You can't pray for greatness and avoid growth, and you can't grow without pain. Growth and pain walk hand in hand. One doesn't come without the other. Champions don't pray for easier lives, they pray for stronger backs. They understand that the climb will hurt, but the view will be worth it. They don't ask for the pain to stop, they ask for the strength to keep going through it. That's what separates those who reach purpose from those who only talk about it. The truth about pain is this: it will demand everything you have, but it will give back something priceless: character. You'll learn to trust yourself in silence, to believe in your path when nothing around you is working. You'll discover that real strength is not in pretending you're unshakable, it's in standing firm while you tremble. Champions have cried behind closed doors, questioned themselves in private, and still got up to fight another day. That's the unseen reality behind success. It's not built on comfort, it's built on perseverance. So when pain comes, don't curse it. Don't run from it. Learn from it. Because pain doesn't visit the lazy, it visits the one who's moving. It doesn't waste its time on people who quit easily. It challenges those who are meant to rise. Pain isn't there to end you, it's there to elevate you. It's the brutal truth that most people don't want to face. The higher your purpose, the greater your pain. But the deeper your pain, the stronger your purpose becomes. And when that strength takes root inside you, nothing, no setback, no failure, no fear can ever take it away. There's a point in every champion's journey when the lights go out, when the crowd disappears, when the noise fades, and all that's left is silence. It's in that silence that faith is tested. It's easy to believe when everything's working, when the doors open and the opportunities line up. But the real test of a champion is how they move when nothing is moving. Faith in the dark, that's what separates the ordinary from the unstoppable. It's not faith when you can see the finish line. It's faith when you're still stumbling through the storm with no sign of light, trusting that every step still matters. Champions are not defined by how they act when things are good. They're defined by how they carry themselves when things fall apart. Because there will be moments when life doesn't go as planned, when the dream you've worked for feels like it's slipping through your hands. The plans fall apart, the people you counted on disappear, and all that's left is you and your purpose. That's when faith begins its work. That's when the heart learns to lead where the eyes can't see. Faith is not blind hope. Faith with direction. It's knowing that even when you don't understand the reason for the struggle, there's still meaning in it. Champions don't need proof to believe, they move on promise. They don't need validation, they walk with vision. When the path gets dark, they don't sit down and wait for the sun to rise. They start walking with what they have, trusting that each small step brings them closer to light. That's what real faith looks like. Movement without certainty, strength without visibility, progress without applause. Something sacred about those moments in the dark. That's where your foundation is built. That's where you learn who you are when nobody's watching. Because when the lights are off, there's no pretending. You can't perform in silence. You can only be real. That's why champions grow in private before they rise in public. Their faith is forged in the quiet places where nobody's clapping. It's the late nights when they question if it's worth it. The early mornings when they get up anyway. Faith is what keeps their heart steady when logic says quit. Life will test you in silence to see if your commitment runs deeper than your comfort. It will strip away the things you depend on until all you have left is belief. That's where faith comes alive. Not when you're surrounded by support, but when you're standing alone, guided only by conviction. The dark isn't punishment, it's preparation. It's where clarity is born. Because when you walk by faith, you learn to trust the process more than the progress. You stop needing to see results to keep going. You start believing that every struggle, every delay, every disappointment has purpose attached to it. Champions don't need to understand everything to keep moving. They just need to remember why they started. They've learned to stay faithful even when it hurts, even when it's heavy, even when it makes no sense. That kind of faith doesn't make the journey easier, but it makes it worth it. It turns every obstacle into an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, more grounded. Because faith doesn't just move mountains, it builds endurance. It teaches you to keep walking even when the road disappears beneath your feet. Faith in the dark requires courage, the courage to believe in a future you can't yet see, the courage to trust that your work, your struggle, your pain, none of it is wasted, the courage to show up even when you feel forgotten. Champions know that the dark doesn't mean defeat, it means development. The seed grows in darkness before it ever reaches light. That's how purpose works too. The quiet seasons, the waiting seasons, the lonely seasons, that's where the roots of your greatness grow deep enough to hold the weight of your destiny. When everything around you seems to fall apart, faith tells you to hold your ground. It reminds you that sometimes progress looks like patience, that the pause is not the end, it's the setup. Faith teaches you to stop measuring success by visibility and start measuring it by consistency. The real victory isn't in being seen, it's in staying faithful when nobody sees you. Champions live by that truth. They've learned that the delay is not denial, that the silence of life is not rejection, but redirection. Faith in the dark is not easy. It's never meant to be. It stretches you, humbles you, and forces you to surrender control. But it's in that surrender that you discover strength. You stop depending on perfect conditions and start depending on purpose. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start saying, what is this teaching me? That shift from frustration to faith, that's what transforms struggle into power. And when the light finally comes, when the breakthrough arrives, when the moment you've prayed and worked for finally shows up, you realize something profound. The dark wasn't there to break you. It was there to build you. It was there to prepare your spirit for what the light would reveal. Because without faith in the dark, you'd never learn how to stand in the light. That's the lesson every champion carries. That belief is not born in comfort. It's born in chaos. Faith doesn't need evidence. It needs endurance. And when you learn to trust in the dark, you become the kind of person who can shine anywhere. Success doesn't belong to the talented. It belongs to the consistent. The world celebrates the moment of victory, but forgets the years of repetition that built it. Champions understand something most people ignore. Greatness isn't created in one powerful moment. It's crafted in 1,000 quiet ones. It's built in the repetition, in the commitment to showing up even when the results are invisible. Consistency is the invisible force that turns ordinary people into legends. It's not glamorous, it's not exciting, but it's what separates those who dream from those who do. Consistency is the hardest thing to maintain because it doesn't always give you quick rewards. There's no instant applause, no immediate recognition. It's just you, the grind, and the discipline to keep going. Most people lose themselves in the excitement of starting, but fade in the weight of continuing. Champions don't chase motivation. They build habits. They understand that motivation is seasonal, but consistency is eternal. They wake up every day no matter how they feel and they put in the work, not because they feel like it, but because they decided long ago that quitting wasn't an option. The brutal truth about becoming great is that consistency demands sacrifice. It requires saying no to distractions, walking away from comfort, and embracing the dullness of repetition. It means doing the same thing over and over with excellence, even when nobody's clapping. The ordinary mind gets bored, the disciplined mind gets better. Champions are built in that space, the place where the excitement has died, but the mission remains. They understand that the small things done daily build the big results everyone dreams about. Legacy isn't built by one act of greatness, it's built by a lifetime of small, deliberate actions. Every morning they wake up early, every late night they study, every moment they push through fatigue. It's all an investment. Consistency is a promise you make to your future self. It says, I may not be the best today, but I will not stop until I am. It's the commitment to growth, even when growth feels invisible. Because the truth is, progress is not always loud. Sometimes it looks like discipline. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like staying the course when everyone else has left. There's something powerful about a person who refuses to stop. The world respects persistence because it's rare. Everyone starts, but not everyone finishes. Consistency doesn't demand perfection, it demands presence. You don't have to be flawless, you just have to keep showing up. Every day you stay consistent, you gain an edge. Every day you stay consistent, you build momentum. Champions know that momentum is magic. Once you build it, it carries you forward when strength fades. The truth is, consistency feels lonely. While others are celebrating, you're working. While others are sleeping, you're practicing. While others are talking about what they'll do, you're already doing it. That loneliness is the price of mastery. But it's also the birthplace of greatness. The world might not see your effort now, but one day it will. Because consistency always reveals itself in time. The person who plants the seed every day, waters it every day, and protects it every day, that's the one who eventually stands in the shade of their own tree. Every champion you admire wasn't just talented, they were relentless. They understood that success is not a one-time event, but a lifelong pursuit. They didn't rise because of luck. They rose because they outlasted doubt, fatigue, and failure. Consistency taught them patience. It taught them how to stay humble in progress and how to keep faith in the process. When they failed, they didn't abandon the mission. They adjusted, refined, and returned. That's the power of consistency. It turns setbacks into setups and losses into lessons. The secret to legacy is not found in speed, but in endurance. The fastest rarely last, but the steady always endure. Champions don't rush their growth, they respect the process. They know that excellence takes time, and time requires patience. Consistency transforms patience into power. Every day you choose to stay committed, you reinforce who you're becoming. You're not repeating tasks, you're refining your purpose. The repetition sharpens your skills, and over time, your consistency becomes your signature. There will be days when your effort feels wasted, when the results don't match the work, when progress feels like it's moving in reverse. But that's where the real test lies. Can you keep going when you see no evidence of reward? Champions answer yes, because they understand that consistency is faith in motion. It's believing that your time is coming, even when it hasn't shown up yet. It's trusting that every small act compounds into something great. Consistency builds habits, habits build character, and character builds legacy. That's the chain every champion follows. They don't let emotions decide their effort. They let vision dictate their discipline. Because one day the world will see what they've been building in silence. One day the results will speak louder than any words could. And when that day comes, it won't be because they worked harder once. It'll be because they worked faithfully every single day. The truth about consistency is that it's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing the right things persistently. It's waking up and saying, I may not be there yet, but I'm closer than I was yesterday. That's the mentality that turns hard work into history. Consistency doesn't just change your circumstances, it changes your identity. It transforms you into someone unstoppable, someone dependable, someone built for greatness. Because at the end of it all, it's not talent, luck, or even opportunity that makes champions. It's the daily decision to keep showing up, long after everyone else has stopped.